So, there's no single Aikido. Regardless of herd mentalities and modern illusions, where you have group over individuals, there's no single Aikido. Regardless of that discourse, we are like the days of old where you didn't study Chan. You went and studied with that master. You studied at that mountain, in that temple, with that master. Chan is something for academics. So there's no single Aikido, then there's no single Ukemi. And you can reverse engineer by how Uke moves, what the assumptions are for Nage. Okay? If we have a few people come out, so you're going to do a back-breakfall. Looking this way, going back north. Good. Please look that way.
Hi.
There we go. And I'm going to watch this. You're going to now do it facing this way.
Hi.
There is a point where it goes forward, but then there's a point where it goes backwards. Forward. Okay? Leah. Same thing. Less, do you see? Stay this way, didn't go back. Now I want you to make it go back. Yeah, you're gonna do it wrong. Okay. This is closer to the last example. Now I want you to watch what happens when she brings her center back to her head. What happens to her head? Go. The head comes forward. You see? Let's look at some extreme examples. So, this is where I go here, sit down. The head comes way forward. Every time the center goes back, the head comes forward to lower myself. So I go like this. Back, lower, then rock. By that design, you would be able to tell that the Nagewaza, does not expect the person to come forward. They expect the person to go backwards. So, can you do that last version? Yes. Okay. It goes. See if you don't exaggerate. I know it's new to you, but don't over-exaggerate. Just sit your butt down. Okay? And we do Tenshi Nage. And you're going to see, he's going to do, you got to do the other one. You got to do the other one. So I make him go backwards. Okay? If he tries to do that and I expecting him to go forward, he comes forward, it's impossible. He can't do it. So you know by default, by how the Uke looks in their Ukemi, what the assumption is for Nagewaza. Okay? There's another assumption in that last version. So as he goes down, he's going straight back. His head, go, is on the line of attack the entire time. Okay? And the resolution is by him staying ahead of the line of attack. That's problematic if he was supposed to be going forward. He can't stay ahead of it, you see. Well, if my assumption is that I'm pushing him backwards, then he can sort of stay ahead of it. It's kind of risky because if I overpower him or over-accelerate him, he's going to hit his head because it's on the line of attack, okay? But the assumption here from the Nagewaza, let's do Kokiho, and you have to do that other version, okay, is that the throw is backwards, straight, that the line is this way, you see. If the technique rotates, it's going to go this way, and he trying to do that other one. You can't do the other one, you see. So there is this interdependency between Uke's architecture and Naga's architecture, and you can reverse engineer the two, okay? What we do is we have, when a person is going to take an Ukemi towards the rear, towards their back, in a supine position, we expect them to be going forward, not backwards. Person that can go backwards is the person that can run out of the technique. So he's coming in, and I'm going to make him go straight backwards, and instead of lowering yourself, use my acceleration to just take you out of the technique. Okay? So, and the reason that he's able to do that is because his base of support is never itself being deconstructed or addressed. Only his line of gravity is being addressed. Okay? So, in other words, if he leaves his feet still, then I can accelerate his line of gravity out and get something like that going. But there was nothing addressing his base of support. Secondly, we want to address the base of support, not just the line of gravity. So line of gravity is going to go one way, and base of support is going to go the other way. And then you can't do that other Ukemi. Additionally, when we come in, I am not so much at all interested in acceleration. Okay? To accelerate something, I have to be able to press on it. We don't want to press on something. To press on something and to have it function in my favor, I have to be stronger than it, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so we're not going to be acceleration dependent because I have to be stronger and because he can out-accelerate whatever I'm accelerating. Okay, so we are going to look at a more sound way of creating a topsy-turvy effect, which we will define by his head trading orientation with his feet. Right now, head is towards the ceiling and feet are towards the floor, and we're going to reverse that where head is going towards the floor and feet are going towards the ceiling. Topsy-turvy effect, okay? And the best way to do that is not to turn it straight over itself, because each side is offering resistance to the other side, making it very heavy. What we're going to do is tilt it. We're going to tilt it, you see? And then each side starts to assist the other side as it goes into the topsy-turvy effect. So his body can't come forward, his head, because he's going to be going forward. His center can't go backwards. His center's going to keep going forward. And he can't go straight back because we're going to rotate him. Okay? So the Ukemi we're going to see is his head is going to come off the line. Okay, so go ahead and do our Ukemi. His center is going to stay up, and you're going to see his body rotate. Center, boom, stays there, and his body rotates. Okay? And that way, you can see, oh, that's the shape of the arc of the Nagewaza. So coming in and boom. Okay? So let's learn how we do this. I'll start at phase 1. It's down. And we're first going to learn the pattern, okay? So he'll have his left knee facing this way, and his right knee is a right angle. The back leg is going to mark the rolling or the Ukemi arm. So his head wants to go, in this case, in the direction of the back leg. So he goes backwards, and he seeks this right angle to the line of attack. Okay? I'll do it again. Cool. Then the next phase for beginners, he stands up, and he's going to drop to Kiza. So knees aren't on the ground, and now he does the same angle again. Same thing, feet are in position, Kiza goes back in that angle, gets his head off the line. Okay? But at this point, we're not working with the center staying forward. You see, we're allowing his center go to stay there. It didn't come forward, but it's not going back either. Okay? So that his head never comes forward during the whole move. Okay? Because the center never goes back in the move. All right, now we got to work on getting the center to come up. So we're going to come out of the stance, and he's in this kind of neutral stance. And he's going, the first phase for this one, for standing, is the center comes forward, and then this foot is going to step back into that right angle, and he goes that way. Go. Yep. So center is coming forward because the energy of the throw is going to require him coming forward. But we let a kind of little tuck at the end. Okay? But you want to keep it to a minimum. All right? You don't want to start sitting your butt down. So he steps back. Okay? And then we have the next phase where, if you notice, we go down on the ball of the foot, not the instep of the foot. And that's because that's your bracing engine for lowering yourself. We don't lower ourselves like this, which is why there's no sports like that. Nobody plays like that. There's no fighting like that. That is the route to a foot injury, okay? Why does no one get injured? Generally because no one's actually throwing them. They get to lower themselves, okay? But he needs to have the way his foot works to lower and reconcile the energy. So in this contracting center drill, he's going to go up, and he's not going to bring this back at all. And he's going to land on the ball of his foot, of his choosing. And again. Boom. Good. Find the foot this time. We're not doing that one yet. Find the foot. Okay, got that drill? That gets you pretty close to our architectures. Before you can do that, we are not really throwing you, we're letting you practice the back-breakfall. He goes. Good. Okay, so you want to get to at least there. And then there's more advanced versions of this, because we're not going to give him his foot. When we do the throw, you're going to see that he won't get his foot, but his center contraction is what he uses. So I'm going to take his foot away. So he doesn't get his foot. But the center part and the upper body part is the same. But you got to get to at least that contracting center drill. Back, find your back foot. Okay, got to get there. Don't let it come back. Don't let your head come forward. That's the problem. Okay? How to get up? I'll do it. I'll do it. Okay. So when we get up, let's say we're doing the first standing one. So I go down and I come up. I don't want to give my back to the noggin. I don't want to ever get in that habit. Okay? So that's why we also don't do backwards rolls. You're going to give your back to the noggin, but you can't do a backwards roll because anything to the supine had you coming forward. You can only do the backwards roll if you're going that way. Okay, so we don't do the backwards roll. If he's my person, my nage, I'm going to keep my eyes on him as I go to do the lowering one. My eyes stay on him, and I'm out. So another drill you could do is as I'm walking, step into the foot position, go down into Kiza, eyes are on him, on your eye. Okay? Let's all do those drills. So let's work on the contracting center, a drill for the contracting center. So the last phase we did is he is out and then he finds his back. But all that is up to him. It's one thing to have a contracting center and a center that is alive when you're in control. What happens when you're not in control is you lose consciousness, the center goes weak, soft, dead, and it's no longer a contracting center. So this drill is one we're going to do. So I'm going to bring him into that contraction, and then he finds the drill of the last one. So boom, hop, boom. There should be a bounce to it. Boom, and then because his center is being expanded like a bow, when I let go, it's going to come back and there'll be a bounce to it. So boom, down, pop. Boom, bow, boom. Different with a dead center. See if you can do it. They'll just fall right here. Okay? Or a person that does not yield and release and open themselves up starts to use this to accelerate, and they go into the back breakfall like this. Go ahead and go. That's not it. So he has to open all the way and then bounce out. Okay, so my drill from the nage's point of view or the trainer's point of view, outside the wrist, don't strain the grips. Tenkan. I'm going to bounce off the bottom, and incher. Okay, here we go. He keeps his center contracted the whole way. It never goes dead. It never gets soft. Okay, and in that way, he is technically doing the exact same internal aspects that I'm doing as nage. Okay, his center never goes soft, never gets gooey. Okay, he's just doing the internal aspects from the yin side. Nage does them from the yang side. Okay, now he's going to keep that contracted center and go ahead and get up. Okay, without giving his back to me. So same drill. It's going to be a bounce. Boom, out, gets up, locks his body, and up. Same side, boom, boom, pop, locks. So when he's getting up, disconnect your center to get up. So boom, pop, boom, like that, you see. His head, the engaged center creates a relationship between his head and his feet. So when his head, lock your center, when his head goes back, nope, more than that. As soon as your head moves, your feet should move. And same thing vice versa, should be like that. You have a small gap in you. So that's what he's working on. Boom, he keeps that engagement, feet, bring the head up. Up he comes. Without exposing his back to me. Same drill. Feet brings the head up. There we go. Okay, here we go.